Alright guys, welcome to my basics land placement video, which I'll be discussing land placement for a few different styles of decks. And for this video we'll be referring to these curving halves, like semicircles, as the rings, the land place rings. So we have the top ring here, which will be used by aggro players to go forward. They'll develop land into this ring. Control decks and some combo decks will use this ring to gain access to double harvesting, and control players will probably generally, something like Wish, Red Control, will start off down here to gain early access to farming so they can use their defensive tools to fight off aggro. So to start things off, we'll start with aggro and then we'll move on to the other types of decks. So as an aggro player, you want to push your land straight into the top ring of the tile placement, and as you'll see here, you'll just go double neutral straight up into this ring I've highlighted. And this ring here is for aggressive players to push land up to their opponent and try and beat their opponent as fast as possible. Dune Drake has become a bit more popular in aggro decks, but your decisions are basically torn between either double neutral up again, so 1-2, and then this will give you access to desert tiles here and here. And eventually you might even be able to push out here. But because we have a Dune Drake, we go for our first desert, and it comes down here. And now this Dune Drake has a charge and flying, so it can move onto your opponent's land and then place deserts as well. So this is very dangerous for your opponent to put land in front of their orb, because I have a creature in front of them, and when he flies on that tile, it gives me access to place in land. So come my turn now, I can literally just move up and place a desert next to my opponent's orb. And this is basically what you're trying to achieve as a yellow rush deck, and it's very similar in a red deck as well. You just want to get your colored lands as close to their orb as possible, so you can just put on as much pressure as you can. So another efficient way to stop aggro in its tracks is to create a diamond shape with your land. It's a little harder to predict when going first, but we'll start off with a mountain in the middle, and what we'll aim to do is create a diamond around here. And that's what we're gonna do. So double neutral coming out from our opponent there. It does have the explore as well. So unfortunately is a little harder to defend against this if your opponent goes second. However, this is basically how the diamond is created. So you have these tiles here, and these tiles will block off your opponent from pushing on. So if your opponent does have explore, you basically just go here and here. But however, if you have explore, you can go explore here as well to create this diamond shape, and then your opponent has to push land around here or around there. They can put one in the middle, which is a little unfortunate. Like I said, if you had the diamond, to be a bit different, and then you could put a land here, and then they have no basically good aggressive lands for yellow. And for red, they need to get mountains here, and the only way they're going to get mountains here is to push double neutral, but that also then gives you an opportunity to say neutral here. So this little shape here, these four tiles, can be very important when defending against aggro. Another way to defend against aggro, especially as a control deck like this, is to just build along the sides and gain Faeria. So this is the bottom ring of the tiles. This is used mainly by control players, and the reason you would do this is to basically start harvesting Faeria, so you have enough resources to keep your Faeria nice and high, enough resources to play your defensive cards. Now, another good thing to do against aggro players as well is to try and force them into this little, like this. Now, they get this tile here, which is right next to your orb, which is fine, because it means that they have to place a tile here. But what this does is stop them spreading any further, well, quickly at least. They'd have to double neutral to basically get this back. And one thing about yellow, for example, with haste, they need desert tiles in the middle ring of land tiles to get access to the face as soon as they play their haste creatures. So blocking off like this is a good way to stop your opponent from progressing too many lands, and this might be a more effective way for you to stop aggro than the diamond if they're coming down really fast, or you're playing a control deck. And as you can see here, this desert is not going to do much. It needs another desert to play any cards, and then you can just block that desert, and then you can just wall them in like that. So that's another example of defending against aggro. So the middle ring of land tiles is used for control decks and some other decks like blue-yellow events. You either require a land in front of your orb to do something like use an archer, or your deck has a lot of mobility. And what this does is allow you to build on the outer ring, which gives you access to the double harvesting a lot quicker. And some control decks like yellow, for example, really rely on this double harvesting. So the blues, the mono blue and the control yellows will pretty much do the same thing. And as we see here, Archon has charge, so I can zip right across here next turn, and then the following turn it gives me access to double harvest, but also play more aggressively if I need to. So this is kind of, this ring here, the middle ring, is used for control decks which are not as slow as say red or wishes, but have a lot of mobility, which allows them to jump, charge, or even just control the wells. So that's basically what you want to do if you play this. So now we'll take a look at control land placement. So what control wants to do is get access to these wells as quickly as possible. In the middle ring, for the middle range decks, the combo decks, the mobility decks, it's a little slower to go for these wells down this line, but for decks like control, what they want is they want to create a creature pretty much on each side of the orb within their first 2 turns, and then push them out to harvest Faeria for the rest of the game, and they will slowly build up around the sides. In this situation, in this example here, we only have 1 gatherer, but ideally you'd want at least 2 gatherers going forward. And there we go. So we're gonna have a flame spitter, so we'll create another land on this side, and this then allows a double harvest from this side and this side come next turn with double neutrals. And this is what generally control players will do. Or control decks, they'll start harvesting really deep within the bottom ring, and then they'll start building their land either up around the side to contest these kind of mid-ring land placement, or if you have aggro, I showed in a previous example how you can just block them up from the sides here. And that's about it then. You kind of just keep farming the wells, contest them by moving up them slowly with your land, and that's how you play on the bottom ring of the land tiles as a control deck. So that's it for the basic land placement guide. I hope it helps some of the newer players to Faeria to get to grips with some of the archetypes and how you set up the start of your games. Be sure to go to playfaeria.com for more videos and articles about Faeria. Thanks for watching.